So are we recording? Okay, yeah. Yes, we are recording. Okay. What up, everybody? You're now tuned into
Okay.
the true definition of a sports fanatic. I'm your host, Brendan Lampley. And today, hey, I got another special guest. Can you please introduce yourself to the people, man?
Thank you for having me on, Robert Littal, the founder of Black Sports Online. Great to be with you. I've been watching you rise up the ranks, and I'm very proud of you, my man.
Man, I appreciate it, man. I can't lie to you. It took me some time to get your name right because I didn't know if it was Little, to I heard you on TMZ one day and I said, okay, it's Littal, it's Littal.
Yeah,
I
you're
got
not
it.
the first to do that.
Yeah, man. So I mean, I've told like we talked already, and I was telling you about how I kind of started seeing you in like 2016, and I know a little bit about you starting Black Sports Online, and I knew you said one of the things you mentioned is that how the media they push certain narratives, and they kind of tell whole truths, they have truths or whatever, and they kind of push what they want to push and they don't necessarily give you the truth of everything. So he's like, you wanted to start your own. You tell me a little bit about how Black Sports Online came to be.
Yeah, I mean it was a different time, but the same thing still apply in the sense that when I started, there was a very low level amount of Black media people in the online space, in the digital media space. You know, it was different back then. It wasn't so much social media. People did the smartphones and the streaming and all of that stuff was not really a thing back when I started. But I think I saw the potential of that, the way the internet and things were going. And what I noticed was at that time, the only voices that you heard were older, white gentlemen, predominantly speaking about younger Black athletes. And a lot of their, what we call takes now, opinions or whatever you want to call it, editorials, were off. I mean, it didn't make any sense because they just didn't really understand the people that they were covering. So I wanted to get into the business, not to discredit, what they were saying or what their opinions were, but to just give people a different perspective, a perspective of someone that has been in those streets, has been in those shoes, kind of understands them a little bit, players a little bit better. And as things changed, as far as, digital media, online media, podcasts weren't a thing when I started. I mean, it was just sports talk radio back then. All of these things have changed and we've seen, more diversity out there. But the problem, unfortunately, is that more people who are against us or people that look like us now have a platform, be it through social media, podcasts, more television, more streaming services, more news services, more sports media. So while it's great that there is more diversity and there's more of us out there, there's still a problem in the sense that uh, the narrative can get hijacked uh, because, especially these days with all of the social justice and things that are going on, the narrative can be hijacked and you need people like myself and others to tell the truth about what's really, going on.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. And to piggyback off that point, I was talking to my mother, and she's been very supportive, of me going forward with this. She's the one who told me I was afraid about, I didn't think people want to listen. I didn't think I was any good. I hadn't really been on camera at all, had done any podcasts, had done anything. And she was like, "Go." She said, "You know your stuff." She said, "Just go ahead and do it." And so Sunday we were talking. I said, so I feel like 2020 has been a rough year, but I said I feel like it's a year that signifies change because one of the reasons why it's good. I see more people that look like me up in in higher places, but it's still not enough. There are a lot of older gentlemen who need to be ushered out and you need to bring the new ones in because the kids today, especially NFL players and NBA players, they're showing you that regardless of what you believe in or how you feel, this is our game. You're either gonna, watch it and go along with it, or you just are not gonna support it anymore. So
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
watching. I think it was Al, it was Al Michaels and Chris Collinsworth, that Thursday night game against the Chiefs against the Texans. And man, it was like pulling teeth for them to talk about social justice. Did you listen
Yeah.
to them talk about that? It was like pulling teeth. They didn't have a good time talking about it.
Yeah, it's interesting. I talked about this today. When you talk about racism or police brutality or social injustice, it's really the only time that you see the country, and especially a lot of white people, they're so uncomfortable. Like nobody's uncomfortable if you're talking about like breast cancer, right? If you're given
Right.
a spot, if you gave a spotlight, and even if you take stuff that has criminality to it, for instance, if there was NFL decided like, hey, we're going to really step up our stuff about domestic violence, right? And you can wear, whatever, you can wear somebody that's been a victim of domestic violence or sexual assault on your helmet, right? No one's uncomfortable talking about that. If anything, they would say
Nope.
that, man, it's a great thing. This is a beautiful thing. I'm glad the league and the players are not turning a blind eye to this. And they would get so much praise. But when you say something like racism and you say something like police brutality, which are evil things in our country, they just don't care. I honestly think we know it's a good portion of our country because we have Trump as the president, that, are very upfront about the fact that they don't particularly care for Black people. They don't particularly care for Black lives. They don't particularly care for us, in the country, even though, we have every right to be here as much as they do. Like I always, when people say, "Oh, go back to Africa," I'm like, you go back to England. Not like you were here
Yeah.
and we casually walked over. We didn't ask to come. You know,
Yeah.
we it's not like, we were like, hey, we want to go to America and be beaten and slaves and be discriminated against for 100+ years. No, none of that. So yeah, I think it's a situation where also people in the media are pushing those narratives. And that's the scary part, because what people don't understand is media controls opinions. If the media
Yeah.
says something enough, people will believe it because most people are followers and aren't independent thinkers. So if the media has been criminalizing Black people for
Hmm.
as long as it's been around, and it's really no different than any country like a China or North Korea. We do it to Black people the same way that they do it to their people, and it has a lot of the country thinking that way. So anytime something bad happens to a Black person, the first thing they think is he must have deserved it. And that's a jacked up way of thinking.
Oh, it is a jacked up way of thinking. I was talking to a guy I work with. He's a white guy, and I told him, I said, you do know that more white guys are killed by police than Black men. And I said, you guys should be just as outraged as we are. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm starting to understand when it comes to cases like that, when a white guy is killed and why they don't care, because they automatically think, well, he must have did something to deserve it in the first place, you know?
Yeah, the problem is that each individual circumstances are different, right? What happens is
Yeah.
what they don't tell you is a white person may get killed by the cops, but he also may have shot at the cops 40 times before they shot him. Show me
Yeah.
the shooting in the backs. You know what I'm saying? Show me the running away. Do that. Show
Hmm.
me the 10 minutes of a chokehold. Like, here's the thing: the videos are out there the same, but you don't see the videos of the white, quote unquote, white on white, because they're not outrageous. And furthermore,
Yeah.
people use stats to once again muddle up the facts of the matter. There's tons more white people in this country than it is Black people. It's like 13%. It's only 30%. I think 13% Black people in this country. So when
Yeah.
people say, "Oh, there's more white people in jail than Black people," but if Black people make up 45% of the incarcerated people, and there's only 13% of us in the country, that's a problem.
Yeah.
If 500 police shootings happen and 300 are white people and 200 are Black people, but we only make up 13% of the country, then the math is still, off. and everything. And my thing is for any white person that says any of that stuff that makes the excuse, like I always say, think about this. If your son or daughter was shot in the back by a cop, right? And someone said to you, statistically speaking, would that matter to you? No matter what the statistic was, would it matter to you?
No.
If you got harassed, if you got shot, if you got put in a chokehold, if any of that, and you felt like you had been wrong, and someone, went on TV or came up to you or told your family, and while you guys were marching at the police station, well, statistically speaking, how would that make you feel? You know what I mean? Like, and that's just crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy, knowing good and well that they're going to burn the city down behind their baby.
Yeah, right. I mean, just think about what they're like. You saw the two cops that got shot in Compton, right? Immediately, what happened?
Yeah,
big reward, 1,000 tweets, all the information's out there. They put him.
Sheriff called out LeBron,
calling out LeBron. Trump saying he should get the death penalty. That all happened like within 24 hours of the shooting. What happened? The cops that shot Jacob Blake in the back. I mean, what has it been? 2 months almost? I don't remember. Yeah. I remember Trump saying, let's wait on all the facts. I remember all these other people say, well, he had a warrant out. You know what I mean? Like, there's no one else. If you and I go shoot a cop, nobody's ever going to say, well, maybe he had a reason. Maybe there was a reason for it. No.
They're not going to bring up the.
Yeah.
No, I was going to say they're not going to bring up the cop's past. Like if he's a dirty cop, if he's been reprimanded, whatever dings on his records, they're not going to bring that up.
Right. Yeah. So it's all of the stuff that they tried to say. To me, it only proves our point. When someone says, why aren't you marching because this cop got shot? I'm like, why would I have to? Everything in they're moving God's green earth to find the killer. Why would we have to do anything? Here's the thing. If a cop shot like a black person in the back and the initial response was to arrest the cop and then figure it out later, there wouldn't be no protest. You see what I'm saying? If the initial reaction was not paid vacation, not let's hide his name, not fake it. If the initial reaction was, hey, there's a 10-minute video of a cop with his, knee and somebody's neck screaming for their mother, saying that they can't breathe. If within an hour they brought that cop in to jail and said, look, we're gonna charge you, and then we're gonna sort out all of the other stuff.
Right.
What would there be to protest? Because justice would be getting served. That's the problem. That's the thing. So when someone says, oh, a cop got shot or a white person got shot, I'm like, we don't have to protest. I know they're going to find them and what they're going to do with them.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely. That's like, I know one of the guys from time to time, I see you'll call him out. I know once his owner called his brother's inmates, Mr. J.J. Watt, you said you kept asking him, say, what do you have to say about that? And he never made a statement about it. When the players linked their arms in unity Thursday night between Kansas City and the Texans, the crowd booed. It was 17,000, only 17,000 there, but those boos were clear as day that you could hear. And it was during the national anthem. So it shows you that it's not about the flag. It's not about the military. It's not about none of that. They want you to shut up and play ball. And J.J. Watt, his statement was very ignorant to me because he was like, he didn't understand why it was happening.
Right. That's why people think like, oh, you're just trying to start trouble and all of that stuff and trying to go viral. Like, if you go through like my timeline on a daily basis, I'm not sitting here adding athletes every day or anything like that. It's real specific because that's what I'm trying to get them to understand. I'm not attacking them. I'm like, listen, man, you may be a great guy, right? You may give all the charity and you're not racist and but your idea of what America is looked at through rose-colored lenses. So when I call out a Drew Brees and I call out a J.J. Watt, I'm like, listen, Drew, you just think that you're taking a picture with Donald Trump. You just think it's not a big deal. He's just a politician, right? Like you aren't seeing the devastation because it has no effect on you. And I think with JJ Watt, I think someone like JJ Watt, it takes a while because he's like, I'm JJ Watt. I give to the hurricane people. Everybody loves me. I'm a good person. And they don't see it any deeper than the surface level. So something like that has to happen. Like, Drew Brees has to be called out by his, teammates. JJ Watt has to sit there and literally be confused. Like, wait a minute, I actually thought that these people were upset because of the anthem or the military. Like, no, JJ, they're upset because we're Black. That's it. There's nothing else to it. And, I hope when the light bulb goes off, that they then in turn, do the right things. But sometimes they don't. I mean, look at Baker Mayfield. Like, he knows, right? He knows what's going on. He knows. Because, Baker Mayfield got a little brother in him anyway. You know what I mean? So he knows what's going on. He knows how Black are treated. But somebody got in his ear and said, look, State Farm, whatever those commercials, those insurance commercials, hey, they may not like that, oh, you got all these endorsements. You got all of this. Yeah, So what he said originally was like, hey, I don't care if I lose fans. I don't care if I do this. I don't care about that. That was real. But then, his wife get to his ear. Hey, we got MAGA friends and da-da-da. We, your cousin's a cop. And somebody, and then the white people say, something, in the end, I like Black culture. I like to dance. I like to do everything I like everything about Black people except, being Black. So I was going to go back and reel it in.
True. One of his most famous videos is not him throwing the football. It's him doing a traditionally Black hip hop dance in front of his teammates, and they all going, yeah. And that's exactly. That's one of his most viral videos that I've ever seen. So I'm pretty sure they got in his ear. We don't want to do we don't want to alienate people. That's what they do. That's what they're doing. We don't want to alienate anybody.
It's very interesting to me because if you look at the country as a whole, right? You think about, like, say, the Kardashians and people, everything that people do is to be more Black. They get tans, they get their they get their booty done. They want to dance, they want to do the chant, they want to be like Megan Thee Stallion, Beyonce. You know what I mean? Like, everything they do, all the boys, they want to, they want to rap, they want to wear their clothes a certain way, they want to be anti-social. Everything, you see ESPN, they try to do the little cool. I saw ESPN do a future meme, like Sports Center. Like, okay, somebody's don't got it. Everybody wants to do a title like BSO. They want to do a title like Bossip now. You know what I mean? Like, they all want to take the culture all up to the point where we say, something, we would just like equality and to be treated nice. Then all of a sudden they go back into their white, little cubby hole, their bubble of that. And I find that very interesting that they love everything about us except us as a people. So it kind of, that goes back for a very, very, very long time. Music, fashion, whatever you want to, think of, a lot of stuff that has been co-opted came from us. That's why I always say the Kardashians is a good example of that. The Kardashians just took everything that someone like Superhead, was doing, some like Flavor of Love or whatever was doing. They just took all of this stuff that was pre them and said, hey, we just whitewash it. And, they made billions of dollars off of it.
Yeah, repackaged it. I know allegedly, because, I don't want to get no trouble, allegedly they've been stealing designs from young Black designers. And I've seen some of and I've seen it. They'll rip it off. And they wouldn't even put their own twist on it, man. It'd just be a blatant copy of the young, especially young Black women who got their clothing lines or different products or whatever. They just, I've seen it, just allegedly ripped it right off.
Of course. I mean, that you see, like I said, I sit back And I'm not saying that I'm the end all be all of things in the online media world, right? But I find it ironic, when a phrase that I made up, like IG model, makes its way to the New York Post or the New York Daily News. Like
Yeah.
that's things
Hmm.
like that. It's like, okay, all right, I see. Oh, I see your title now got a little more characters to it than it used to. Like
Hmm.
it's stuff you see and
Right.
that they're biting it, but
Yeah.
that's what you have to deal with as a black person in this country. And the problem is because we don't have like the generational wealth, it's hard to fight. Like you can't how you fight the
Yes.
Kardashians? They got all them lawyers. You know what I mean? Like the stuff that like
Yeah.
basic necessities that you need to fight an all powerful entity is very difficult.
Yeah. Yeah. Like they'll I seen a thing where they were talking about 45 and how it's just it's hard to I guess sue him because of some issue they were talking about, and they were saying how he's going to keep it in litigation for a
Right.
decade. Like his lawyers, they work around the clock, and you will be out of money before you can get any result of the said case.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that goes
I
back. Yeah,
mean,
that
it's
goes back to us
just
not having that wealth.
yeah, it's that's what people don't understand this. This is very funny to me, and I talk to people about this all the time. They say that when people like say, "Well, what about black on black crime? What about Chicago? What about all of this stuff?" And I always
Hmm.
say this to them. I was like, "Let's just imagine, honestly. Let's just be honest. If black people had their own, like, was never brought over here, and we had our own country and just did whatever we do, right?" And was able to build our own wealth and stuff. Do you think that if the roles were reversed and white people, we were the over whatever the ones that was in control and brought white people over as slaves and never gave them an opportunity, we didn't give them anything, put them in poverty, kept them in poverty, make sure the loans are hard to get, put things in place to where the poor is just hard to get up out of that hole. You honestly think that'd be any better? Honestly, I think that'd be worse because to me, white people, some white people, not all, but some white people is like this. It's like you guys have all the advantages and you're still mass murderers, shooters, killers, you're violent. You know what I mean? Like you have the advantage and you're like that. We are at a disadvantage. The fact that we're able to do as much as we have done, to me is a minor miracle with all of the obstacles that they put in our way. I say if you switched out, like the movie Trading Places, if you switched out all the people, black people in Chicago, and put them out here in the suburbs where I'm at, and put all these people down in Chicago, they wouldn't be able to function, in any type of way. So, like, come on, like that, like to me, it's like it's very difficult to sit there with a straight face and tell people to say, hey, don't be violent, don't be this. But I'm like, if you don't have no money to eat. It's the summertime and you can't get your air conditioner on. It's the wintertime, your heat's not working. You're gonna do what you have to do, right? If you didn't have to do it, I don't think anybody grows up and says, you know something, at 5 years old, I want to be a drug dealer. I want to be a gang member. I want to be
Right.
a violent criminal. It's a product of your environment. And if you take those
Right.
people out of that environment, they would be productive people. I always say, look at LeBron's school that he did, right? All he did was take some kids that weren't getting the proper education, didn't have good teachers, no books, didn't have a way to get to school, parents were struggling. All he did was put them in a better environment and their scores go up like 10, 15, 20, 30%. These are smart people,
Excellent.
kids.
Hmm.
It's just a product of their environment. Now they have a chance. That's the difference.
Yeah.
And that's why rich white people want to make sure that we never get what we owed because they know what would happen if we had the opportunity.
Oh, just look at public school versus private school. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, the studies are out there. You can go look them up yourself, people. I ain't got time to do research for you. Go research it yourself and look and see the turnout, how kids turn out versus public school versus private school. The results are night and day. It's night and day. That's why I think charter schools are now. I've seen a lot of them. They're popping up all over the place, especially here in Jacksonville. Like I did an interview last night with James Coleman. James Coleman, he's a former Florida State Seminole. I know he was with the Patriots for a little bit. He does sports for First Coast News, and he has a sports den with Denny Thompson. And he took time out of his day to come sit with me, and we interviewed. He talked about it. He said, growing up, he said, drug dealers or athletes. He said, once you start to see, the men in your community, that's what was most flashy. That's what we all wanted to be because we didn't know any other way. Black lawyers, black doctors, black business owners, car salesmen. You had ladies who were innovators and achieving great things. Those weren't pushed in the media. Those narratives weren't pushed, so you didn't get a chance to see those in mass. Now, because we have the platforms, you can see those people and see like being able to find a guy like you without social media and the internet, it never happened.
Right. Yeah, I mean that's there's definitely some negative sides of social media, and then there's some positive sides, and a lot of times they're bumping heads. Like I swear every day I say, social media is a great thing, and then at a different part of the day I'm like, I honestly wish I would never have to get on here again. Like it's that extreme because the toxicity of social media is heavy. But the connections that you can make, I wouldn't be here without social media because there literally wouldn't be a way for me to get my stories out to the masses, without it, without Facebook, without, Twitter. I wouldn't be able to have the following and things of that. And I wouldn't have met, all of the influential people that have helped me throughout the years. But on the flip side of that, I've seen social media be really, really negative. I've seen them turn on people. They've turned on me. My own people from time to time. It's a gift and a curse. It also helps propaganda. I mean, Donald Trump's not the president if he runs for president in 2012 or 2008 or 2004. He's the president because of the disinformation he was able to himself get out there on social media, and all the Russian bots and the fake, white supremacists and MAGA bots. All of that information was able to basically provide him with a cult following that wouldn't have heard his message if it wasn't for social media.
Oh, I agree with that completely. I hadn't really thought about it like that, but it's similar to the kid Tekashi 6ix9ine, who's just asking for something bad to happen to him at this point. He played the social media game to the T, man. And Donald Trump did the same thing. One of the things I watched with the kid Tekashi, he built his following because what the kids found out today, and I think after it goes to athletes, it goes to entertainment, and just about anything you're doing, they're realizing that no longer do you actually have to be good at what you do. All you have to do is be popular. Do things that are polarizing, that are going to bring eyes to whatever product you're trying to sell. The more people you have follow you, the bank account is going to go. And you can't tell the young people about morals and how things are supposed to go, and how it's supposed to go, and how they're hurting their dignity, and they're not paying homage to the artistry and people who came before them when their bank account is on 10. How can I tell Tekashi he's wrong for what he's doing, and he's sitting out eating steak with his lady friend, and he has 200,000 on the table. He has $1 million on his wrist. He has $2 million on his neck and 800,000 in a Louis duffel bag. How can I tell him he's living his life wrong? He's not going to hear anything.
Well, that's the thing. The thing is that, and I've talked about this with people before, is people say certain things on social media. They say things, but the actions say otherwise. You know what I mean? Like people say, well, such and such is canceled, or such and such I'm not going to support, or such and such this, right? But then, like you said, the numbers don't bear that out. I mean, Kanye keeps coming back and over and over. Kanye's made more money since he's with MAGA. He's become more popular. Tekashi is more popular because of the snitching and all of that stuff. So, when he did his, IG live, like there's 2 million people on there. Like, who are these people? I think sometimes I think one thing that people forget is that social media is a vacuum. And sometimes you'll see 50 posts about 50 tweets or whatever, 50 Instagram likes or whatever, right? And You think that 50 is the world. You know what I mean? But it's
Yeah.
not. It's just a small percentage of like real life. And people, here's the thing, people like train wrecks. People like drama. And the reason, once again,
Yeah.
another reason why Trump is the president is because people are good at saying one thing and doing another. So your neighbor can shake your hand and say Black Lives Matter, but when he goes vote, he punches Trump. So there could be
Yeah.
somebody on here right now on social media saying Tekashi's a snitch, Tekashi's this, I'd never such and such, but secretly, you know, streaming whatever he's doing or following him on whatever he's doing because they're interested in the drama.
Yeah.
So you can't take social media at face value because people don't tell the truth. They tell you what they think they want you to hear and what, you know, goes with the flow, but is oftentimes not the truth.
Right. One day they'll figure it out. I always have. I heard a saying years ago. It said that a person is smart, but people are dumb, and you know people are really sheep. You know they are. They go with the flow and they follow every little trend. And so one of the things I saw where the cancel culture, and they'll get it eventually, but it does the opposite of what people want it to do. It actually makes them more popular. People who didn't know about Tory Lanez before his incident with Meg Thee Stallion, they know about him now. People who didn't know about Tekashi before the snitching and stuff, they know about him now. People who didn't know Kanye before they canceled him 8 times, they know about it now because people want to see, well, who's this guy that nobody wants to listen to and they're trying to get him off TV? You do the opposite of what you're trying to do.
Yeah, it's I mean, sometimes good things happen. I mean, bad people get, you know, exposed and put away. Other times, I think good people get caught up in stuff, and unfortunately have to deal with that wave of bullying or whatever it would be. I mean, like you said, it's other times where you think what you're doing is thing, but you only are making that person, you know, more popular because as I always said, when a lot of times, you know, I would do a story and people say, I don't care about that, or why is this news, or whatever, you know, they want to say. And I'm like, you know something, when I don't like something, I don't pay attention to it. You know what I mean? Like, to me, that's the best way to make it go away. You know, if I'm not interested, I'm not even going to make a comment. There's nothing to comment on because I don't care. If you really don't care, nobody says I don't care if they really don't care. Because if you really didn't care, there would be nothing to say. You know, you see all, I'm sure you do. You see all type of stuff on the timeline or people talking about or on TV and stuff. If it doesn't interest you, you just move on. You know, it's like a TV show. Like, I never got that. Like, I always, one thing that used to irk me is people would say, why are you watching that? I'm like, are you paying the bill? You know what I mean? Like, are you paying? Like, that's the society that we're in right now. Is whatever you do, there's like a pushback, even though it has nothing to do. People don't mind their business. You know, if I want to watch wrestling, if I want to watch the Real Housewives, who cares? I'm paying. You know, you're not. You don't have to. You don't have to watch what I watch. You don't have to listen. Like, music is another one. Like, why are you listening? Like, are you in the headphones? You know what I'm saying? And the same thing applies to media. It's like, I don't like Stephen A. Smith. Then why do you watch First Take every day? I don't like Skip Bayless. Why are you commenting under his, you know, undisputed videos? I don't like, you know, Clay Travis. I don't like it. Why are you engaging with them if you don't like them? Like, I'm not going to spend 5 hours going back and forth with Clay Travis. He's a clown. Everybody knows that. So what's the point? All I'm doing, like you said, if I got 100,000 followers and he has 250,000 followers, there's probably maybe we're two different people. So that may, like you said, be some disconnect between the two. If I'm over here arguing with him, all I'm doing is giving him more fans. So it's like,
you are.
You like you said, you have to take social media for what it's worth, but you have to stick to the positive side of it. If not, you'll get swallowed up.
Yeah. Twitter is the best, worst place on the planet,
absolutely,
in my opinion.
Yeah.
I remember you had an interaction with a guy. And this is my thing. Like, if you don't like the name Black Sports Online, why are you clicking on the media? He said, Black Sports Online is a racist name. What if I created White Sports Online? What would you have to say about that? And you replied to him, what's stopping you? It's
Right.
hilarious to me, man. Yeah,
Yeah, you know.
you can go ahead, you can create that. Go ahead, do it, and cover
See,
whatever you want to cover.
I've always pointed that out, to people when they say why. Like, when people say, why are you posting this or what? I'm like, there's, I don't know, 50 million websites out there. Don't have to check out mine. You know what I mean? Like, it's you don't have to. It was always weird to me because I'm like, I remember one day, like, I got a little frustrated and I'm like, can am I forcing these people to watch or read? Am I like physically taking their hand and making them click? Because I don't get it. Like, I hate this content. How can you hate content that you not are exposed to? You know what I mean? I'm sure there's like white supremacist sites like out there, right? I don't go to them, so I don't know what content it is because it doesn't, interest me. I'm sure there's like sites about, pottery barn, and so like I never got that part of it. But then I realized one day people just like to argue and people like to get you to engage and go back and forth. It's something that I had to learn not to do, because no matter what you do, if you do something wrong, apologize, move on. If you do something right, say what you got to say and move on. Like, I feel like that goes both ways. Like, I'm not perfect. I've made mistakes on my way coming up, but the one thing I think sometimes you make a mistake and then people are like, okay, it's everybody's going to have a, let's make it into a big party. I'm like, that's pretty lame. That's why, I think what happens when you get to a certain level of success, everything about your past and everything just in general is going to come, out because people don't like it. No matter if you changed or, you apologized or whatever, it comes out and you got to eat it, because if not, there's no winning against, like you said, when you said person and people, person is smart. People are a mob and followers. So if one person can't go against a group of people that have their mind made up, regardless of whatever the facts may be.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Shoot, that's like at my job, I work for one of the local colleges here, and we had a situation where we had a white supremacist group. They taped posters all around the outside of the college, on the doors, certain posts or whatever. And on the poster, they talk about the Aryan Nation. And the guy, he's tatted up. He's got his bullhorn. He's got the head shaved with the leather jacket on, and they spewing hate and talking about joining their movement. Now, we took the posters down and we basically, went through our cameras, because I work security, trying to identify who it was, to eliminate, make sure if we see them on campuses to, stop them, whatever, question them, and do whatever we need to do. Now, and then once that was done, we move on. Now, I could have easily went to the website, found out where they meet, found out who's in charge, and go there and say, hey, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that, blah, blah, blah. No, I don't agree with what you're doing, but I'm going to move on. I'm not going to come to Aryan Nation meeting talking about why you hate me. I didn't do anything to you. No, that's a waste of time. Don't give your energy to those things, man. And part of the reason why it's like that is because we live in a fake outrage culture. People fake caring about stuff all day long on the internet. There's no way people care so much about certain things. Like one example of it, and I know you covered this, Aerial Powers, guard from the Mystics. She, that famous back and forth with her and Andre Iguodala.
Right.
I was watching it as it was happening, and I talked about it on my podcast. And I was very matter of fact with Aerial Powers and saying that she was like, put some respect on her name. And they were saying, oh, it's because she's a female that he didn't say her name. And I'm like, and like the men were, most men were like, we call each other by numbers all the time. And I love what KD did. KD tweeted out when Brandon Ingram was going off in the bubble, he said, number 14 is a different breed. That was a little jab. And so this to let them know, say, hey, there's no disrespect here. we want to give you props, but you want respect in the way that you want it. Nobody owes you anything. I don't have to do anything. Andre Iguodala doesn't have to acknowledge anything. He took time out of his day to, give you a shout out. And people were going at Andre, oh, he's terrible. He's misogynistic. He's this, he's that. And I said, they're only doing that because she is a woman. Because if Serena Williams had tweeted that out, Ariel Powers doesn't have that gumption with her, and the fake outrage culture is that when she was trending, they were spelling her name wrong. So the people didn't even know who Ariel Powers really was because they spelled her name wrong. Her name isn't spelled like Ariel the Mermaid. It's she has I think an extra E in it or something like that. So that's how I knew right then and there. Oh, this is a fake outrage culture because you guys don't even know Ariel Powers' real name.
Right. It's here's the thing. The numbers don't lie. That's what I always say. The old Michael Smith show. The numbers don't lie.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. The people that, there's a reason that Fox News keeps Laura Ingraham and Tucker Carlson on. There's a reason that, Barstool Sports can thrive. There's a reason all of this, stuff can happen that certain people can move on. It's that we get caught up in a wave. You got to be very careful about the things that you say because at the moment you really can't say anything. Like it's like you said, I call football players by their numbers all the time. Like it's a fake, like the guy that used to play for the Cowboys, 38. That's literally what I call 38.
38 to God. Yeah.
38 to God, the legend. It's
yes.
It's just a thing. But here's the thing, every little thing now is like everybody's hypersensitive. Everybody is taking it's just I blame literally Trump for this. Like everybody's just hypersensitive about everything. You just don't say anything. Don't just say anything. You know what I mean? It's just crazy, to me. But it's maybe a good lesson, don't say anything. Because no matter what you say, because context doesn't work on social media. You know what I mean? It just doesn't work on social media. Like even if you try to give context, it doesn't work, and it's sad, but I always say if you want to give context to a sensitive topic, like, what you were just talking about, it's better to do it on your podcast, on a live stream, something where you continuously talk, for a long period of time about it, because no matter what you do on social media, it's not going to work. And the more you talk, the worse it's going to get. I forget who it was. It was some actor or something. And he said something. And the initial thing he said wasn't great, but he just kept talking and kept tweeting. And it just got progressively worse.
Tweet through it. That's what they say. Tweet through it.
It just like I always say, if you're going to, if you say something wrong or something happens to you, just say you're sorry and just keep it moving, okay? Because like Andre Iguodala, like like you said, I don't think he meant anything, by it. But sometimes you just, you don't want that heat on you. Look, I'm sorry, I was saying your name, I was saying your number because that's our way of, as NBA players, saying that we think you're a baller, like no disrespect, et cetera, and just go. Because as you saw, because he didn't really say anything and he kind of like, really? What did they start doing? They got off the topic of what he said and started bringing up his divorce case or his, I guess, child custody case. You see what I'm saying? Like, that's what I'm talking about.
Up his past.
Right. If even though what he said was not bad, right? I think people agree with that. It wasn't bad. By him being indifferent about it, what happened was now people had more ammunition to go searching. Like And now they're
Right.
pulling up stuff that does look bad. You know what I mean? They're
Yeah.
pulling up things that
Yeah.
do look bad.
Yeah.
So
Right. Because I knew I
yeah,
wouldn't be able to tweeting at her or commenting on or tweeting about it wasn't going to properly I'll say basically convey what I want to say about it. So I was like, I have to talk about this on my podcast and
right.
really
Don't
be
do
able to go in.
it. Yeah, don't if
Yeah.
you
Yeah, because
like. Yeah, you're right. You're right. And I give that advice to all young media people is that, especially if you have a differing opinion on a major story, don't do it. Don't tweet it.
Don't
Don't
tweet.
put it on Instagram. Don't make a comment. Don't do anything, because it's okay to have different opinions as long as you're respectful and you're not doing anything crazy. But like just like say the Maya Moore story about her and the guy that she got out of jail. There are some people out
That's
there that have
crazy.
different
I saw
opinions.
that today.
Yeah, there's some
Yes,
people
it
that
is. They on the fence.
yeah, but and they was hitting me up like, hey Rob, I don't. I'm like, hey, don't hit me up. I do it on my podcast. I talk about what I feel about it and things like that. But it only takes one. You don't even have to be bad. It could just be like one wrong word, out of place. Like,
Yeah.
and then once the wait, and then you can do. It's nothing you can do. Like sometimes it's bad stuff, but it may not necessarily be racist stuff. Maybe sexist or whatever it may be. But it only takes one. One thing we learned. It only takes one tweet, and if it gets caught up in that wave, it only takes one comment, one wrong. It only takes one wrong turn, and you're done. So it's just better. I'll tell people in media, it's just better just put your stories out there. If you're Black, try to make as many pro-Black stories as possible.
Yeah.
Stay in your lane, and then go to your other outlets where you can express yourself, your streams, your YouTube, where you can clearly explain your context, because if not, it's not going to work out well for you.
Right. And shoot, for me, when I saw it, I was happy for him. Think about men like Jonathan Irons. Society doesn't care. Society doesn't care about the functioning men, a lot of functioning men that's walking around here every day, but let alone a man who was convicted at 16. He has a 50-year sentence. I mean, they're going to spit him up, chew him out, and throw him away. But for his story to have developed into what it is now, it's rare that happens. So I'm happy for him. You got your freedom. You found your wife. I mean, I hope that they're together until their dying day, But one narrative, once the story, because people don't know the full story. I see people talking about it. They don't know the full story yet about how they met, how long they've known each other, because they think that they just started talking when she started on the case. But she met him at 18 through a prison ministry group. And so he was 27. So I'm waiting on because the society have a thing about older men with younger women. And they talk about how, there's just all this wrong and you shouldn't be interested in these younger women. You should want women your age. Well, it's a biological thing. Men prefer younger women. It's just what it is. And women do prefer older men. It's always been that way, and you're not going to be able to change people into changing their preferences. But I'm waiting on that to come, that, he groomed her from prison. She was just a baby when they met and he manipulated her and blah, blah, blah. So I'm waiting on that to come out.
Yeah, just like I said, sometimes the thing that I've learned is just let it be. Let people talk. Don't step into it, because the other thing, everybody's watching and everybody's screenshotting. Everybody, even in your personal conversation, something that I learned, you can't trust even the people that you think are your friends these days. They're the main one. Like, think about John Wall, right? He's out hanging out doing his thing or whatever, right? And how does it get to the internet? You know what I'm saying? Like, how does that get out? You know what I mean? So
how does that get out?
Yeah, I mean, you can't even trust sometimes. I mean, how you have friends and then you got like real friends. Like, you should be able to trust your real friends, but it's those
should be able to
friends that you just talking to because you feel comfortable with, and they told you stuff about them. You tell them stuff about you, but because you 10 toes down and not someone to put information out there and send screenshots, you holding it down. But as soon as things go left,
Mm-hmm.
they're the ones that are throwing you under the bus for stuff that happened in private. And that's why I think as anybody in the community that I would say that is coming up, that would be my advice to you, is that like whatever circle you got, keep it real tight. Okay.
Right.
And,
Right.
and your opinions on things that are maybe a little bit left, a little bit kind of out there, be very careful about who you're showing those to, because it could be 5 years later. You guys were cool 5 years ago, and now you're not cool. Something happens, and they say, "Oh, I remember, when Brandon said he like to do this to women," and that, like you got to be very, very, very careful.
Yeah. If you're around able-bodied people that have a cell phone, you should be on edge.
Mm-hmm.
The cell phone has changed the game. Nothing is private anymore. Man, just look at Bow Wow. Even though the recording of him and the young lady, the mother of his child, it was pretty bad on his part. But he's thinking that he's just talking to her. He's not knowing he's recorded, because I'm pretty sure he knew he was being recorded. He doesn't say those things. But I mean, yeah, and you're right. And that goes into what I want to talk about too. So where were you when you found out the news about Chadwick?
About who? Oh,
Chadwick
Chadwick.
Boseman.
Yeah, I was I was just at home, and what I saw, I follow him on Twitter. So when the tweet came out, initially I thought maybe it was hacked. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
because
I couldn't
someone that
believe
passed
it.
away, tweeting, that they passed away is a little, unsettling.
Yeah,
And I saw it, and I did my, at that point nobody had reported anything. So
no,
I started to kind of do my due diligence to see, like, hey, is this real? Like, because this can't be real, because this I just seen this guy at the end game, and this is
yeah,
2019, and nice guy, talked to everybody, every fan, all it was the world premiere. So I mean, it was fans there, but it's the kind of the I'm not in the elite. I'm just saying I just knew somebody that got me in, but it's kind of upper
yeah,
echelon. But
yeah,
but
yeah, 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 yeah,
still,
yeah, yeah,
those people bring kids, they bring their family, they bring their friends. Like I brought a friend, and these are big stars. This is Scarlett Johansson, this is Robert Downey Jr. and he was really really nice. And I remember I told him, just like a real brief conversation, like like I grew up with comic books all my life. I grew up reading fantasy books and stuff, and I'm like, I see white people, they go to Star Wars, they dress up. Harry Potter, they dress up. Batman, dress up. I've been to Comic-Con like a million times. I was like, it's the first time like I've been to Comic-Con and I seen so many black people there, like more than usual. Like there's always your standard amount of
yeah.
black comic book geeks like myself. I'm like, no, it was more.
Right.
And they were dressed up as Black Panther and
Yeah.
Shuri and African garb and stuff. And I said, I went to the theater, to see Black Panther. And when I went to the theater, it was a screening, like a little media, whatever you want to call it, screening. And there's people dressed up and everything. I'm like, they didn't have that. I'm like, you gave these people something that they thought, in our community, for whatever reason, I don't know. I think we've just been brainwashed. It's like we can't like different things or soft or whatever. I'm like, you gave it to someone like they can watch. I'm like, there's no way that Infinity War and Endgame are doing $1 billion if not for Black Panther, because you brought them a whole other audience. Like, hey, it's cool to watch Marvel movies. It's cool to Thor and all of this, Thor Ragnarok and Spider-Man and all of this stuff. It's cool now, And that's what I was telling them, like, it's cool now. And I like, that's a cool thing, because I've always been in that culture. I'm like, it's cool now. And he just was like, thank you and everything. And we had a little laugh about people always asking him to do the, Wakanda forever and stuff. Just seemed like a good dude. And I know he wanted to keep it a secret. He wanted to stay private. I just hope that, that worked out the way that he wanted it, to work out. I hope he didn't feel like I had to keep it private because, Black men aren't supposed to show struggle and all of that stuff like that. I hope that's just, he just didn't want anybody. And I think Black people in general is just like, we don't want people to worry about us. Like, we got enough to worry about, but we don't want people to worry about us.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's actually healthy,
Right.
For us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Don't
Yeah,
know.
I don't know if that's
Don't
actually
know.
healthy, that we feel like we have
Yeah.
to keep all of our struggles internally, because I think sometimes you're like, man, I'm Black, I'm struggling because of X, Y, and Z, but this person just lost their kid, the cops just shot their kid, or this person can't eat because of the coronavirus, and like all of this random stuff. You feel like you can't get out whatever you're dealing with because you see 100 other people dealing with 100 different other things.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
it was tough. I like celebrity death. I'm not like one of those people that when a celebrity dies, like I just lose it, because I feel like that's a weird, they're just people. And I'm not saying that their death shouldn't be, but like to me, a celebrity death and your neighbor dying, it's still death and somebody's still hurting and stuff. So like I feel bad and I feel, grief for them. But how some people are real over the top with it. But his hit a little, different. He's around my age.
Yeah.
And knowing what he was dealing with and what he had to do and what he did, for people, it hit a little different.
Yeah, it did. It hit close to me, man. I feel the same way about especially celebrity deaths, but 3 deaths that hit a little different than any other celebrity death. The first for me was Michael Jackson. Man, I remember my mom, I was like 13 and she bought me, 13 or 14, she bought me his Invincible album for Christmas. And that's where the love for Michael went from there. And I went back and I watched all his videos, listened to just about all of his music. His posthumous album, Escape, I still have it on repeat, on my phone. I play it all the time. So his death impacted me greatly. And Kobe did, which was shocking to me because I was a Kobe hater early on, because I was a Shaq guy, I was a Kobe hater. He ball hog, man. Kobe, he's ball hog. But older Kobe, I loved older Kobe because older Kobe was surly. He's on a team with a bunch of teenagers, seem like all they do is play around, they joke. They don't take basketball serious like he does. And he was just, he just had that old man mean face all the time, man. So I loved older Kobe and what he was getting ready to transition into post basketball. And that's when I really started to connect and see Kobe in a different light and really started to like Kobe. And then Chadwick, and the reason I brought up Chadwick is because what we talked about, his inner circle really loved and respected him. Because think about it right now. Say LeBron James, God forbid, comes down with an illness and he keeps it in his inner circle. He wants to keep it in his inner circle. He'll tell a few people. How much money do you think news outlets will pay for a story that LeBron James has something life-threatening he came down with?
Right, exactly. I mean, you're right. It's yeah. I think that's also part of it too, is that I think it's part of it that he could have did differently, and he didn't. And it just shocked people. Like I think it lessens the blow a little if you know that it's coming. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But when you don't know that it's coming, it's like, man, it just really, it really hits you hard.
Yeah. It does. It does. I saw the interview. One of his co-stars from I think it's the Bloods 5. And he talked about meeting Chadwick on the set, and his wife, asked him about it. He said, "Well, what do you think of Chadwick?" Because he was excited to work with him. He watched his rise up from Thurgood to 42 to Black Panther, and he told his wife, he said, "I think he's a little precious." She said, "Well, what do you mean?" He said, after every set, he has somebody like massaging his feet. You got somebody like rubbing his shoulders. His girlfriend is holding his hand by his side, and they're like tending him and caring for him, kind of like hand and foot." He said, so I'm thinking, he said, man, maybe this Black Panther stuff is going to his head. And he started to cry. He said, I just did not know what he was going through. And I forgot I think I said homeostasis when they were doing his feet and massaging his feet. I guess it has something to do with him going through chemotherapy and stuff like that, because a coworker was telling me about it. But I say you can't judge, man. You really don't know.
Right. You just let's say that, and that's maybe the most important thing that we might can in this with is that you don't know what people are going through. So you gotta just kind of, when you making comments and things like that, and then once again, something that I had to learn, like you just don't know. You don't want to be the person that have to go back and be like, I wish I didn't say that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, my dog is ready to go outside.
Oh yeah, no, it's all good. It's all good, man. I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much for taking
Yeah,
time out of the day. I know you're a busy man, and coming on and talking with me. Um, let people know your social medias, your websites, and everything, where they can find you and where they can find your content.
yeah. So BlackSportsOnline.com, and follow me on Twitter at BSO, and Facebook is Black Sports Online. I got a new podcast that's coming out. We just did a couple of episodes before the big announcements called "Keep That Same Energy" with Robert Littal. So you can find that on SoundCloud and iTunes and Spotify. But yeah, the name is exactly what we're talking about. So we got some big interviews
I like it.
coming out next week with Michael Smith and Michael Holly about their new show, and the Charlo brothers about their pay-per-view fight. So yeah, it's gonna be some big things going on.
Oh yeah, for sure, man. For sure, man. Hey, and I want to give you your roses now because I know they wait until especially for our great black men and great black women, they don't get their roses until they're gone, man. Just know that you've been an inspiration to me, and watching you and how you've grown over the years has really motivated me, to branch out and do my own thing, and to get things started, man.
I appreciate it, man. And you keep doing what you're doing, and if you need me, you let me know.
Oh, for sure, man. Hey, man. Hey, I want to be able to keep that same energy, man, because I already know. Just from the title, I know how that's going to go, man. So definitely, I'll definitely be tuned into that. But hey, guys, remember check me out on YouTube, The True Definition of a Sports Fanatic. This YouTube, my podcast of the same name, Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Anchor, Breaker, Castbox, all those good things. I got more videos, more interviews coming up this week. So stay tuned, and man, hey, God
God
bless,
bless you,
man.
man.
But I told you, yeah, man, yeah, man. It's been a pleasure, man. It's been a
All right,
pleasure for
talk to you
sure.
soon.
Hey, you yeah, so I'm gonna stop the recording, but stay on just a second for me. But hey, for everybody who's watching, man, I'll talk to you guys later, man. Peace.